Luke could hear the fire crackle from outside of his tent as laughter sounded from outside. It used to be easy for him to be social with everyone and be genuinely happy. That was until Callum and Leo's thing finally went exclusive to the rest of the group, causing his chances of getting back with her to grow slimmer and slimmer by the minute. Luke unzipped the rim of the linen door, pushing himself up using his forearms and walking towards the campfire. He took the closest empty lawn chair staked into the grass, not realizing it was the one right next to Leo. To his luck, no one seemed to notice that he had arrived as they continued their presumably amusing conversation.
We're gonna go for a little night hike if you want to come, bro.
Callum offered quirkily, hovering over Luke.
Yeah, come on, Luke, it'll be fun.
Michael pleaded.
I think I'm good here, but you guys have fun.
Luke declined, avoiding eye contact. He could hear Callum huff in slight annoyance as he walked off with what seemed to be everyone but the one person Luke didn't want to be alone with, Leo.
Why didn't you go?
Luke questioned, looking towards Leo, breaking the residual silence as the burning embers cracked beside them.
Callum and I went on a night hike yesterday and it kind of creeped me out, so I decided to stay this time. What about you? Why didn't you go? They obviously wanted you to.
I just didn't want to, okay?
Luke said coldly, trying his best to spare as little detail to her as possible. It's not like she actually cared anyway.
Luke, you really shouldn't let me and Callum get in the way of you being happy and hanging out with other people. It's ridiculous.
Leo shook her head as she picked at the blue flannel she was wearing. She didn't get it. She didn't understand how much pain she had put Luke in. He struggled to even eat, sleep, or drink these past few months. He broke down just at the thought of not having her anymore. She was his everything, but he wasn't hers.
Fuck you, Leo.
Luke scoffed, getting up from the chair and heading back towards his secluded tent for the night. After what felt like hours of crying, Luke heard the leaves outside of his tent crunch.
Can I come in?
Leo cooed. Luke wanted to say no, he really did, but when it came to her, saying no wasn't really an option. He silently unzipped the door and scooted away from it, giving her some space to sit. The tent was cramped, causing them to sit only inches away from one another.
I'm sorry, Luke. I'm really sorry, love. I just say some really insensitive shite sometimes. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
Luke whispered, letting another tear fall.
No, it's not. Look at you. You're crying. I did this. This is my fault.
She quickly began wiping his tears and moved closer to him, so close that every breath she took tickled Luke's cheek as she lightly cupped his face.
Leo, I miss you.
He sighed, looking into her big brown eyes, nuzzling his face into her hand. Luke played with the bottom of her flannel as it hung loosely off her shoulder. He then planted a soft kiss on the exposed skin adjacent to her collarbone as she soothingly ran her fingers through his blonde locks. Luke placed his hand on her upper thigh as he kissed further and further up her neck until he reached her lips. He pulled away, taking one last glance at her before leaning in to kiss her, and to Luke's surprise, she didn't stop him. He desperately furthered the kiss, casually pushing his tongue into her mouth. Her hands reached for the hem of his shirt, pulling it over his head with ease. Without thinking, Luke did the same to her, then continued to unclasp her bra. Leaning her back so that she was laying down, her knees parted on either side of him, he trailed kisses down her bare chest until he made his way to the waistband of her pajama shorts. Luke looked up at her longingly, as if asking for permission, and she granted it to him by saying yes. Yes means yes, and she was sober when she said yes. Once he removed her shorts and pink lace thong, he dipped his head between her thighs, using his tongue to massage her clit as he slid 2 fingers into her opening.
Fuck.
She moaned instantly, covering her mouth, giggling in response to her outburst. In lightning speed, Luke wiggled out of his pajama pants and boxers, ready to enter her consensually, until he realized something.
I don't have a condom.
It's fine, baby. I'm on birth control.
She whispered, both hands cupping his cheeks, pulling him in. Once again, with consent from both parties, Luke thrusted into Leo, causing her to moan loudly. Thankfully, the group hadn't gotten back yet, so no one was around to hear them.
Fuck me, Luke.
Leo whined as the pace of Luke's thrust began to quicken. He pulled her closer, his member going deeper into her. Luke wanted Leo to be full of him, and he wanted her to know that no matter what, he was still hers.
Luke, oh my fucking god.
She berated as she came, leaving scratch marks on his back as she dug her nails in. Luke pulled out, looking down at her, smiling. He knew he had her once again. He laid beside her, causing her to roll over to face him. She stroked his hair on the nape of his neck, leaving generous kisses along his collarbone and cheeks, sending him to sleep. Luke finally felt at peace once again. The next morning, Leo was gone, not just from Luke's tent, but completely gone from the campsite. Callum screamed. Luke scrambled to put on a t-shirt and boxers as Callum neared his tent. Luke unzipped the door, ducking out of the tent to Callum's surprise.
What's up, dude?
Luke questioned calmly, wanting to seem the least suspicious as possible.
Leo's gone. She must have left in the middle of the night because she was here when we got back from the hike last night. I can't call her because we don't have any service either, so I don't know what to do.
Callum had tears brimming his eyes. Luke wanted to feel bad for him. He really did. Seeing him like this only brought him back to when he admitted to Luke drunkenly that he had fucked his girlfriend.
Do you want me to call her or go look for her or something?
Luke suggested, trying to find an excuse to see Leo again.
No offense, Luke, but I think you're one of the last people she would want to go looking for, if you know what I mean.
Luke scoffed, realizing that no one had known what happened between them the night before.
But Callum, you don't have a license yet. Besides me, Ash is the only one who can drive. And him and whoever his new fuck buddy is seem pretty preoccupied.
Yeah, fine. I guess you're right. I'll try to go somewhere with service so you can text me if you find her.
Luke nodded, rushing towards his tent to grab his luggage, bag, and keys. He made his way towards the car parked on top of the hill. Luke's princess, wherever she might be, needed saving. After driving for hours, Leo finally pulled into the driveway of the only place she actually felt safe and not at risk of fucking up again, her apartment. She raced up the stairs, flinging herself onto the couch after unlocking the door. She sunk her face into her favorite pillow, engulfing her in sobs. Hours seemed to pass like minutes until suddenly the door swung open.
I found you!
Luke's familiar voice exclaimed as Leo shot up from the sofa.
Hi, Luke.
Leo said, walking towards him. He shot her a soft smile, his hands cupping her face as he connected their lips, lightly pushing her against the wall. Leo broke away.
I can't do this to him, Luke.
She admitted, avoiding eye contact and feeling ashamed.
You weren't fucking saying that when you cheated on me before tour, were you, Leo?
Luke spat, furrowing his eyebrows at her.
Times were different then. You know that.
So then you were just gonna fuck me and act like nothing happened afterwards?
Luke shouted, slightly pacing around the living room.
It was a mistake. How could you expect anything else to come of it?
Because I love you! And you love me too, right?
Luke asked. It was almost like Leo could hear the tears welling up in his eyes as he spoke.
Leo, please say you love me too.
Luke pleaded. Leo looked away from him, biting her lip to choke back the threatening sobs. When coming from him, those words used to give her undeniable butterflies, but now, after everything, she felt nothing.
I can't.
Fuck Leo!
Luke screamed, tears streaming down his face as he clenched his fists, trying his best to keep himself from having a violent outburst. Leo held her breath, looking down at her own 2 feet until she heard his footsteps grow more and more distant as the door opened and slammed shut once again.